the Dems win this election, they will legalize enough illegals to turn the swing states, and everywhere will be like California. There will be no escape.
That is so insane.
This is the final. This is it. This is the last chance.
Has anybody tried
and
to
I
push
just want to
back?
Go out and vote. Vote like your life depends on it. Vote like your future depends on it, because it does. This is the last chance, man.
And I'm sure I don't need to remind you, but today is election day. So make sure that you get off your butt and go vote if you haven't already. And they're back up to their old tricks, folks, as they don't care about you or transparency, even though you pay their salaries with your hard-earned tax dollars. And if Donald Trump wins this historic election, not only will markets rally, but you can be sure many people will take to the streets in protests and riots. And now the Wall Street Journal just reported that the deep state alphabet agencies now have their contingency plan in the case that Donald Trump wins the election. However, many believe that if Donald Trump loses this election, crypto will also be a loser and suffer. Now, we can be confident in this because even on the whitehouse.gov website back in 2022, the Biden-Harris admin promised sweeping crypto reform for digital assets, yet they never delivered. And this seems to be the playbook, as now Kamala's campaign has stated this: that she plans to address regulation rather than advocating for prohibitive measures. She signals an openness to integrating cryptocurrencies into the mainstream financial system. However, many critics view this approach as vague and are uncertain how it would translate into concrete policies that foster innovation within the crypto sector. Again, it's the same tune that they've been whistling for quite a while now. So buckle up, folks, because as I stated in my previous video, the only thing that matters over this week is the election as we draw near the very end of this long, drawn-out, consolidating crypto price range, and we are likely on the verge of a major breakout in crypto markets. And directly on this chart, you can see that back in 2012, back in 2016, and then in 2020, each time at election time, between the months of November, December, and then January, the markets really rallied for some crazy new all-time highs on Bitcoin, which provided a lot of room for the entire altcoin market to move as well. Typically, Bitcoin needs to move first, and then a lot of that money is rotated into the altcoin market. That would include XRP. And crypto market bullishness would likely be accelerated under a Trump presidency, as Gary Gensler, the worst chairman in SEC history, bar none, and crypto opponent, and in his place likely Hester Pierce, aka the crypto mom. So in this video, we'll be covering what the likely outcome of the election is and how that will affect your XRP bags, alongside what to look out for on the charts. So if you're feeling blessed and bullish, comment 777. And if you enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe and leave a like. Let's get into it. What's going on, bull runners? My name is Paul if you're new here, and really quickly before we dive into the video, this is very time sensitive, especially if you're looking to get more into the crypto market before the bull market is over. In other words, just wanted to share with you that Visa and Mastercard lost a $5.5 billion class action lawsuit. Now, this happened because Visa and Mastercard are so powerful, and at the time were so big, from the times of January 1st, 2004 to January 25th of 2019, that they imposed unfair fees on virtually all businesses and merchants. This was in violation of antitrust laws. In other words, they were running a monopoly and overcharged businesses. They finally lost this lawsuit, and now they owe businesses $5.5 billion. In other words, if you own a business or know any business owners that process payments with Visa or MasterCard between 2004 and 2019, you were actually owed a refund of 1 to 1.5% of your total revenue from that period of time. And already we've helped businesses that have processed $124 million in total get back $2.2 million of essentially free money they didn't even know they had. But the problem is they'd have to actually claim it. This is one of those class action lawsuits where you don't just get a check in the mail and find out about it later. No, you actually have to file a claim. Now, we had to be cautious and actually blur out each individual business owner, their name, all of that jazz. But in this case, we helped one business owner get $21,874 back for doing a total volume of $1.1 million over that period of time. Here's another business owner that's getting $18,700 back for $1.16 million. Another one, $64 million, they're getting a total of $1.1 million back. Now, the reality is you don't have to toss that into crypto, but if you're looking for some extra cash to do so, they are more than welcome to. And consistently, we've helped business after business after business after business that have processed anywhere from thousands of dollars to hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars get thousands of dollars back. This is essentially free money that you're going to miss out on if you don't file a claim. And all these businesses had to do was fill out the form right here through the link down below in the description. And it takes literally less than a minute to see if you qualify. But you don't want to wait long because the deadline to file is February 4th of 2025. And the sooner you start, the sooner you can reclaim what's rightfully yours. Now, what's super beautiful is you actually do not have to pay a single dime. The only time you'll pay any fee whatsoever is if you actually get money back. So this is completely pro bono. And if you get money back, then they'll take just a portion of that fee or the money that you'd get back. Plus, if you don't even have a business but know someone who did between 2004 to 2019, you can earn 3% of whatever they're getting back by referring businesses that qualify by creating your affiliate link account through the link below as well. So this is totally a no-brainer, and it's a way to get money back in your pocket to use for your business or for crypto or whatever you really want. So go ahead and click on the link below and let's get you paid. Well, it's safe to say that right now things are looking really up for Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris, as he's currently 62% in the lead in the betting markets, and he's also leading in 4 of 6 swing states: Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. Now, a Trump presidency would be tremendously bullish for markets and crypto, as he's already stated the policies that he wants to implement, from firing Gary Gensler for a pro-crypto SEC chairman to supporting Bitcoin mining, creating proper banking regulations, and dumping Operation Choke Point 2.0, which basically created barriers for crypto businesses to access banking services. In other words, on-ramps and off-ramps. He wanted to oppose a CBDC, which would really just be a way for the US to have total surveillance over all of our money, and then finally create for an environment where we can have total self-custody of our own crypto. In other words, there is true ownership. And in my opinion, these are totally libertarian views on ownership, crypto, and innovation. Now, I'm not alone in my thoughts on this, as even Miles Dutcher said, if Trump wins, we all must significantly raise our targets. And that's due to the fact that he's a pro-crypto president. He's not being vague with his language. He stated exactly what he wants to do. He's going to implement aggressive monetary policy. He's going to increase global liquidity, which is going to be on the rise anyways, or monetary easing. And then finally, stocks and gold are likely going to hit a new all-time high. Now, this is not good long-term for the US dollar, but that's probably why we'd want to be in things like Bitcoin, XRP, and crypto generally speaking. In other words, it looks like Trump is truly going to be in the lead and is likely going to be the next US president. And this is speaking volumes, as just 2 hours ago, the Wall Street Journal put out an article basically stating that US intelligence, which is really these alphabet agencies with far too much unchecked power, are now warning of escalating foreign interference in the election. And wouldn't you know, they're also saying they are Russian yet again. And if you remember in the 2020 election, and even in the 2016 election, they were talking about how the Russians were behind all of this misinformation and were colluding with Donald Trump to get him in office. Now, many people believe that to be true, but the reality is the evidence just does not show that. So why would they be doing this yet again? Well, then if he does get into office, they'll have an excuse to basically state, well, now we're going to have to go and investigate him and potentially impeach him again. And the whole show goes back on. But let's take a listen to what David Sachs from the All In Pod has to share about the whole Russiagate scandal and hoax.
So I think the place you have to start is by asking the question, why would Vladimir Putin want to get Kamala Harris elected? In fact, Putin just came out today and announced his endorsement of Kamala Harris. So perhaps the Russians have an agenda to get Harris elected. I could see why. She is the much weaker candidate. She's afraid to take questions on the tarmac. Trump is strong. He's authoritative. And I could see why they might prefer to have a President Harris than a President Trump. Jake, Al, this is the third straight election in America in which we've been led to believe that there is essentially massive Russian interference in our election. But I think we should ask, what did we learn since the last two elections? In 2016, okay, we had the Steele dossier, which hatched the whole Russiagate hoax. We subsequently found out that Hillary's campaign created the Steele dossier, and then that was taken up by the deep state. They basically did a investigation of the Trump campaign. They went to the FISA court. They lied to the FISA court. And we had a 2-year independent counsel investigation based on a piece of opposition research that turned out to be completely phony. But we heard every day on cable news for years that the Russians had somehow interfered in that election. Never proven. In 2020, we heard that the Russians again were interfering because you had those 51 security state operatives say that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. That turned out to be a total lie. The laptop was authentic. That was just a made-up story that the Russians were involved. After that, let's not forget, there was NewsGuard and Hamilton 68, which were two bogus media watchdog groups that were deep state ops that were designed to get conservative content censored as Russian disinformation. So now, after all of these ops in which it was alleged that the Russians interfered in our elections and those stories turned out to be completely bogus, we now have this new one about tenant media. And I don't know the truth of this story. I can't say one way or another whether it's accurate or not. But what I've learned is not to take these things at face value. And if we are to take it at face value, tenant media was working against Trump's interests. So apparently the Russians don't want Trump to win the presidential election. They want Kamala Harris.
Now, he may be a brash, old school businessman from New York who says a lot of stupid things. Yet at the end of the day, everyone remembers this blue line and this red line where Trump was in the lead. And then in the dead of the night in the 2020 election, Biden all of a sudden had hundreds of thousands of votes pouring in through mail-in ballots where virtually none of them were for Donald Trump. And so this time around, we're expecting a total blowout because even if they were to toss a bunch of mail-in ballots in the dead of the night with no real transparency, at the end of the day, we expect it to be a blowout. So this is actually pretty funny. Trump's hairline is the prophecy. Even with something like this, Trump is likely going to be in the lead. And back in 2020, if you remember, virtually every single network was saying there is no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Even judges made the case that this seemed to be true. Then, years later, there were multiple investigations into states like Georgia and Arizona where they did, in fact, find voter fraud. In the case of Georgia, 17,000 missing ballot images and over 3,000 duplicate votes counted in the 2020 election in Fulton County. And by the way, these were very tight races in these swing states where this could make all of the difference. And here's the actual video in the courtroom where they talk about it. It is 4 minutes long, so we're not going to share it. But if you want to look it up, you're more than welcome to. Just look up Fulton County 2020 election. Then the investigation into Arizona showed even worse or crazier things, like 255,000 early votes with no record, 23,000 double votes, 50,000+ counterfeit ballots, and even they found that the Dominion systems or the Dominion voting machines were rigged and were in fact connected to the internet, which allowed for bad actors to potentially manipulate things that were happening. And we saw a lot of manipulation when people would click on something else would show up, or it would change votes later on. And again, here's another 2-minute video where they share that. So if you want to look into that, go ahead and go into the Arizona Senate audit of 2020. Now, that said, you don't have to like Trump to want to vote for him. When you look at who's actually endorsing Kamala Harris, these are a lot of weak people like Cardi B and Jennifer Lopez, which arguably was some of the worst acting I've ever seen on stage. Then you have people like Danica Patrick sharing who's going to be endorsing Donald Trump and who's getting behind him. And yes, Joe Rogan recently came out endorsing Donald Trump, and he was a guy that was never going to vote for someone like Donald Trump. He actually voted for Bernie Sanders in the last election. But let's listen to what Danica Patrick has to say.
6 presidents when you pick him. You get Donald Trump, you get J.D. Vance, you get Bobby Kennedy, you get Tulsi Gabbard, you get Vivek Ramaswamy, and you get Elon Musk. Because when I decided that I'm going to vote, now I'm speaking, and I'm not paid to be here. I don't have a teleprompter. I'm winging this right now, everybody. I don't need a telephone. I never went to a Diddy party. I'm doing this because I love this country. And there's nobody that's been tested more than Donald Trump on showing his love for this country. Through indictments, house raids, mug shots, and getting literally shot. I'm standing here. This is like a very surreal situation. There's glass around me to make sure that nothing happens. Like, this is the time that we're living in. Nobody has been tested more than him on how much he wants you to have this amazing country not only great again, but better than it's ever been.
So to me, the choice is simple. Do we want the least popular vice president in American history to be in office a second term where they weren't really friendly with crypto? Or do we, and arguably Gary Gensler is going to stay in office, or do we want the most pro-crypto president in American history to really pump our bags? And already it seems that markets are starting to price in a Trump victory, as recently the market's dumped to $66,000 on Bitcoin, and just this hour, the market pumped really hard from $68,000 all the way to $70,200 on Bitcoin. And so we're starting to see that same price action on XRP. What's beautiful is from an hourly time frame, we're not really getting a breakdown below that 49 cent to 50 cent range. If I pull that out and zoom out, I should say, down to the daily time frame, you can see right here, this is a very bullish pattern. Now, I'm not going to say we should go enter with a lot of size right now, because again, over the next day or two, we might see some unforeseen volatility in the case of one swing state maybe going in a different direction or some crazy things happening. But at the end of the day, things are looking pretty good for crypto and Bitcoin. And even if I go to that, let's say 4-hour time frame, and I pull up the RSI, you can see that we had a major low right here on October 25th of this year. And since that point in time, we've been putting in higher lows on the RSI, while on that same time frame, we've actually been putting in lower lows on the price, at least from the close of the candlesticks, which is a good indicator that this is a hidden bullish divergence. Now, what this means is there's a lot more bullishness in this price action than we previously expected, and the price, if we get a Donald Trump victory, is likely to bust right above that 55 cent range, all the way up to 57 cents, and potentially even 66 cents. Then it remains to be seen if we break out above there. But this would be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th time and 6th time that we touch that range. And again, the more that you touch a range or knock on a door, the more likely you break out for some new highs. If we break above that 64 cent range, we're always looking and targeting that 74 cent range, as that is our multi-year high since back in 2023. A break above there is going to likely take us up to at least $2. So this could be the best price that we'll ever see again on something like XRP. However, I don't want everyone to go all in just yet, because things can turn around really quickly. We might see some volatility. You don't really want to go and take a bunch of leverage. So for me personally, and this is not financial advice, I am currently dollar cost averaging in every 2 to 3 to 5 hours, just seeing where the price action goes. I'm not going all in. I'm being cautious, but I am relatively bullish, seeing all of the positive developments and news surrounding the election. So thanks so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, it helps us out, and then head on over to bullrunners.com. You can find that link somewhere in the description below to sign up for our early bird list, which is closing in 5 days. And this is a great way for you to get exclusive altcoin picks, market analysis, and get early access to our crypto education platform and inner circle. We're only accepting so many students, so the sooner that you sign up, the better. It is time sensitive. Thanks so much for watching the video. I look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.